I have to say, guys, this book is Aussie crime at its absolute best. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'll be sharing with you my spoiler-free review of Lowbridge by Lucy Campbell, published back in July. This is her debut novel, and I was really impressed with it for a lot of reasons. She leaves no stone unturned in this. She's very, very thorough, and she kept things intriguing all the way through. So let's start, as I always like to, with what the book is about. 1987, it's late summer and a time of change when 17-year-old Tess Dawes leaves the local shopping centre in the sleepy town of Lowbridge and is never seen again. Tess's unsolved disappearance is never far from the town's memory, though there's those who grew up with Tess and never left, and those who know more than they're saying. It just takes an outsider to ask the right questions. 2018. Catherine Ashworth, shattered by the death of her daughter, moves to her husband's hometown. Searching for a way to pick up the pieces of her life, she joins the local historical society and becomes obsessed with a 3 decades old mystery. As Catherine digs into that summer of 1987, she stumbles upon the trail of a second girl who vanished when no one cared enough to see what was happening in plain sight. Her trail could lead right to Catherine's door. So straight off the bat, I found the prose written very, very confidently. It oozed confidence all the way through, and I love that. Love it when a writer does that and simply grabs you from the get-go, and you're hopelessly addicted for the whole book. You have to race to the end and find out what happens, and you've just got no choice, and you find yourself just surrendering to it, especially after the brilliant opening from the first page, which look, the best way to illustrate how good this writing is to share with you this first page, which I'm going to read to you. All right, let's do this. So I've taken from the first page. Here we go. 7th of February 1987. See you later. With a cheerful wave, she walked into the sunlight, her mood soaring in anticipation for her plans for the rest of the weekend. She pulled off the elastic band wound around her neat plait and let her hair swing loose upon her shoulders. In the brilliant glare of the summer sun, she noticed the stillness of the leaves on the few trees planted around the shopping centre car park. A wispy straggle of green trapped forever within the concrete and bitumen and etched in stark relief against the unmoving sky. From the far side of the car park, she took a shortcut across the oval to one of the many bush tracks that crisscrossed the mountain reserve, following it to where it finished at the top of a quiet road. A car rounded the corner at the bottom of the street, but she took no notice of it until it drew up alongside and the driver called her name. Turning, she hid her unease with a bright smile. "It's okay, thanks, I don't need a lift." "Don't be silly," the driver said. "I can drop you home. Come on." She glanced around for a second, hoping there might be something nearby that would give her a reason to refuse. But there was no one, nothing at all. "All right, thank you." With a sigh, she opened the door. "Looks like another hot day then," she said politely. The sound of her own heartbeat was loud in the silence. As she climbed into the car, the Lowbridge High School badge pinned to her satchel, yellow lettering faded against a navy background, caught the edge of the door and clattered to the ground. It was the only piece of evidence the police ever found. Guys, by reading that prologue, how could you not read on? It raises so many questions. Who is the abductor? Why was she kidnapped? It just raises so many questions, and you have to dig into the book. So for a really strong opening like that, I think it was done very, very well and just grabs you by the shirt collar and drags you in to this story. Okay, so let's talk about the narrative. So it's told across 2 timelines. So we've got 1987 and 2018. Now in 2018, Catherine and Jamie move into his parents' old place in Lowbridge, situated an hour west of Sydney, and they try and pick up the pieces of their shattered life after their only daughter was killed. And Catherine is in a really dark place when we meet her for the first time, and you can't help but feel sorry for her. the bleakness and the blackness that sweeps over her. You just can't help but feel for her. And the second timeline is obviously 1987 as the events unfold leading up to the disappearance as per the prologue. I enjoyed this part because I'm part of the target demographic here. I mean, I was in high school in the 80s, in particular 1987, so I found that the kids' interaction with each other at school, I could really relate to that. And with these two timelines, it works because a common plot device in thrillers these days, and you see it everywhere, the then and now format. I think it works really well because every chapter is alternating the timeline each time. So you've got 2018, back to 87, back to 2018, and so forth. Now, why I believe that's very strong is because you're getting caught up in the lives of the people in both timelines. So when you're reading a chapter in 1987, it leaves questions open, and then you flick to 2018 and then you're reading Catherine's story, and then you're going back to 1987, and you want to go back and forth between the two timelines because both timelines have interesting things going on. And it's very clever because it's never boring. You're not following the same character for the entire book, you're alternating, and all the events that are described in 1987 are hinted at in 2018. So the narrative is very clever that way because foreshadowing is used in the 2018 timeline so that the next chapter in 1987 describes the events leading up to what was hinted at in 2018, and it was just irresistible. And the chapters were short, and that's another vital ingredient to a mega page turner that this one was. Okay, now Lucy Campbell slowly unspools the events, involving a pretty big cast of characters as well, so that keeps things interesting, and the abductor's identity very hard to predict, and you have your own theories as you're going through it, and you suspect one person or another, but Lucy Campbell does that on purpose just to throw a few red herrings and distractions in the midst of the book, and just keeps you guessing right to the end. So yeah, I found a few of my suspicions were debunked by the end of it. I can tell you the final reveal was a real what the fuck moment, and it came out of nowhere. And when the final reveal takes place, you think, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense now. This person's motivations, this kind of made sense. So it was really smartly done. The characters were great, the dialogue was very snappy and realistic, and the prose was so smooth that I love how a writer writes in such a way that it's that smooth that the words read themselves and you just fly through the book, and you have to keep turning those pages. And yeah, I found the mystery of both girls' disappearances was yeah, really smartly done. And I really liked how Catherine comes out of her haze of grief and finds something like a vocation to actually solve this mystery. She latches onto something that she hopes will help people, and by the end of it. And I found that really good. So look, if you like a really good crime read, look no further than this. And yeah, she's an Australian author. It's her debut novel, and I can't believe it's her first novel because the way she writes it, you could have sworn it was her 6th or 7th novel. But I do know that Lucy Campbell has worked as an editor and written in periodicals and things like that. So she, yeah, her first fiction book, and I think she's nailed it. And I think this is going to be a hit, and I think it needs to be adapted ASAP. I think it would do well on Amazon Prime or Netflix because there is a really strong market for this kind of stuff at the moment. Yeah, there's a lot of shows, Aussie crime shows, that are really popular at the moment, and I think the time is now, and I think producers would be silly not to pick this one up. And I don't even know if it's been optioned or not, but wouldn't be surprising if it was. So there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching. That is it for my spoiler-free review of Lowbridge. If you've read it already, share your comments with me in down below, because I like to compare notes and would like to know what you think. But it was full of twists and turns, and just absolutely loved it. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. Offer up any feedback below as always, and I'll always interact with you about that. So until the next video, guys, happy reading.